Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel. So, everything you see is a few paint strokes, and then a whole load of settings and whatnot. And that's about it. And then I'll just move that whole group in one direction towards the camera, and then it seems like you're just blasting through the infinite void, which is pretty cool. And you get like these wisps of galaxies stuff fly past, and planets and stars and things. So yeah, let's have a look at how to make that. So first you can delete the floor and then add a sun and sky gadget, and this kind of moves the sun around the sky and changes the how it looks and stuff. Like you can give it a different color and things. But I just want to turn the sun brightness to 0 and sky brightness to 0, and now I've got the black of space. And then I'll go and turn on studio lighting in the guides section, and then that turns off like all the lighting settings, all the glow, all that kind of stuff, and it just makes it so you can see what's going on in your scene without having to like add lights and stuff temporarily so you can do stuff. So then I go and make a painting, and in the flex I chose circle, and now I'll make it really tiny, and I'll make it white, and then I'll look down here so you can see it, and then I'll just like squiggle around and move forwards and backwards a bit with the stick and tweak it. And now I can turn down the fleck density, so it's one long line, but then if I turn down the fleck density it's just a few random dots, that kind of stuff. And give it some glow, and I'll turn off emit light from glow because I don't want it to affect the rest of the scene. And now I'll go and turn studio lighting on, and because it's glowing I can actually see those flecks. Now I can make it duplicate automatically no matter where I am in the scene, so if I move back and forwards and stuff it won't make more stars. Now I can't see any stars. If I turn on positional duplicates around camera, now I can keep moving around and new stars will be spawned in automatically for me. And I can turn on all directions as well. I'll quickly show you the difference that makes with a more obvious example. So if I have that and use around camera, they're all pointing the same way. But if I also have all directions, then they'll be pointing in random directions as well. So that's why that helps. I can also, there's scale jitter, so each stroke of each copy is scaled from the copy's center. So like the center of it is like there or something, or maybe it's there, and now they're being scaled randomly away from that center, so that might be useful as well for this. So let's try scale jitter. Might make a difference, might not. And now put that on again. And now to get this to move, I could have a camera, which I can animate it moving forwards a whole bunch like this. I'm just blasting over this because this isn't the way I'm going to do it. So it's going to move forwards, and now it looks like I'm moving forwards. But another way of doing it to get just infinite space is to add a mover to the actual painting. So first I'll add a microchip, and I usually make it a large microchip and then group them up like that. And now if I turn on X-ray, I can see inside that group, the gadgets inside that group. So now I can see that, and I can move it around. So this is useful even if you're not duplicating it like this and you just want to move the stars around the night sky. Now I can easily see, have something to grab onto, otherwise you're like trying to grab these tiny dots. But in this case it's going to be extra useful. So for this case I'm going to use a mover. And so let's just grab this and press triangle to snap it onto to like a 90 degree of the scene grid. And then I'll have this effect the group, like that. And now that group will move, and it's got like an arrow over here. So I just want to make sure that's pointing in the same direction as the camera. So I'll just grab the arrow. Yeah, that seems fine. So now if I just go into play mode, that'll keep going towards the camera forever, and new strokes will be spawned in front of me. So that's cool. Let's turn on hide imps and make it cut. So then when I test, I'm just straight in there. Another couple of settings we can look at are copies and spread. So copies is like how many random copies you get at random points, and spread is how far away they are from like some central point. So if you make them really small, if I make it inside sphere instead, let's turn scale jitter down. So if you make it really small, then they're very close to the original place. And if you make it bigger and bigger, they're further and further away. So if you want more stars, you can turn that up. Less stars, you can turn it down. And I'll give it scale jitter again. Cool, so now like they're a lot further away in general. So I might want to fatten them up a bit with some looseness. Depends on how you want it to look. That'll be fine. And then I want them to kind of fade in from the distance instead of suddenly popping in. And yeah, I'm going to use the sun and sky. Where did I put the sun and sky? There it is. Move it into there. Cool, so there's this fog range setting, which is on 1,000 meters, and that is the distance at which an object won't be shown anymore. You won't see any more of those flecks or the surface of the sculpt and things like that. But as it gets closer from that distance, the sky filters through the object at a certain threshold, then it's fully opaque, and then as it goes further back towards the fog range, it gets more and more transparent, it seems. So if we change that to just 10, now the stars in the distance are harder to see, and the ones closer are easier to see, and you can just like adjust that to whatever you want. If you have it at 0, then the sky is filtering through most of it. And as we expand, so maybe you just have it around there. So now they kind of fade in a bit. Yeah, that's why games have fog ranges. Traditionally, it's used to fade out stuff as it's far enough away from the camera so that when it's beyond that limit, it can just completely skip it. So it's good for performance in general. But Dreams is good, so it's set to 1,000, but you can set it to 10,000, and then it will keep rendering everything within 10,000 meters, which is the limit of a scene, the like size of a scene, I believe. When I'm making this, I kind of think of Star Trek or something. And in Star Trek, you tend to get other color stars. So let's make this one red and have fewer of them. Yeah, so now and then you just see a little cluster. Cool. And then we can have another one, which is blue. Like that, maybe a bit of lightness and a bit more glow. So now we have these blue ones as well. And let's add some galaxies. And this is all using the same technique. So let's turn on studio mode. And I'm going to use Stamp Fleck as the tool. And use a splat. And let's get a color. And let's just grab some colors with R2 and put them in the mixer. And now it should pick a random one of those each time I place one. And now I'm using Stamp Flex, so if I like try and draw and nothing happens, it's just the first position. And then if I use L1 and square, I can turn up fade and scatter, which kind of makes this whole thing kind of fat and floofy, like a big cloud. So now I can like lay down a few clouds of different sizes, maybe make a second one, and make those be around the camera, and have like a lower opacity or something. And some glow, probably. There we go. So now you've got these kind of galaxy-looking blobs float past as well, which is pretty old-school Star Trek. And because it's in that group, it just moves with it. Lastly, I'll make a planet. So, studio lighting again, and circle, and stamp fleck, and I'll grab a planety type thing, and then I'll like flick across the touchpad, and it'll just start it spinning. Then I'll press X in the same place a few times. More. And it kind of gives a somewhat spherical view of it. And then I can up the impasto, which makes it even more spherical. And you could add some like other colours in there or whatever if you wanted to. And then we'll need some glow. So let's put studio lighting off. It's very dull glow, I think. And I'll make a couple of these. And again, make them duplicate. Yeah, now and then you get one of those little blobs. So now you've got some planets. Cool. So what you might notice though is it's like slightly blurry. And if we use a grade gadget, you can actually control that. So I tend to turn the motion blur down, and then it looks more like crisp and a bit more old school as well. Or you can just turn it up if you wanted to. And they will kind of streak a little bit more. And if you use camera movement blur, that's kind of the stuff on the screen kind of fades instead of being wiped every frame. So now you get this kind of extra streaky effect. But I tend to not have that on. And then if you go into a warp, you can like warp it like that. And gives a little bit of extra speed to the feel of it. And that's about it. And yeah, you can remix that scene, and it's actually been used at least once. Genealogy for the Eagle Has Toast.
Good luck, guys, and buckle in.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.